Hello everyone, it's Nick from Claret and Booze and welcome to my daily ramble. I've got me volume turned up. Bit of a poorly Nick today, I've been struggling the last few days, so my voice might go, but I'll try not to cough and splutter everywhere. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit that bell notification icon, and if you do enjoy the show, please drop a like on it, because it does genuinely help us. Same as if you comment on the video as well. Any interaction just tells the YouTube algorithm, and then they share it far and wide. So it does really help. You can really help us out by doing that. Right, on to West Ham. So it's been an interesting few days, isn't it? Moving on from what I spoke about on Monday. Very positive show. In fact, I'm still standing with that at the moment. I'm still holding hopes out for that. But we'll get into that a little bit later. But today's show is going to be more about the players at the World Cup and some of these injuries that we appear to have sustained, and probably thrown us into even more of a crisis than we were already in. Paqueta, first of all, let's start with him. I think we were all, as fans, waiting for a performance like that from Paqueta, and it was outstanding. He was, for me, he was man of the match. He was so key. I can see why he is a mainstay in that Brazilian team when he plays in that position. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I think Korea were a little bit naive in that game, but Paqueta and Casemiro in the middle they're just sublime. Paqueta just ran the game. He's brilliant, even in a defensive capacity. He's anticipation. So he cuts out passes, makes tackles. He's always forward thinking. He's always on the front foot. The difference is Brazil have got players in front of him, and I know people say, "Oh, well, the difference is he's got surrounded by world-class players." No, it's not. This is just what happens when you put Paqueta in a team that want to have the ball and they're willing to run and give him options. Because if you give him options, he'll hit you. He'll do it. He's got a great pass on him. And yeah, like I say, he just keeps the team ticking. He doesn't dwell on the ball overly too long. He's done that for West Ham at times because there aren't options. So he's not just going to pass it into no man's land. It gets the ball immediately. Paqueta, what he'll do is he'll scan, and when we've seen it for Brazil, so it's one-touch passing. So more often than not with him, he'll be aware of what's in front of him, what's around him, and he'll know the pass he's going to make before he's received the ball. I don't think that's the case at West Ham. He's probably looking around going, "Fuck!" He receives the ball and then he holds onto it for too long. He gets in trouble. He's also being played too advanced. I'm not saying that he can't play as a number 10. He's talented. You could play him anywhere, but his best performance at this World Cup has come in that deeper midfield role. It has, with Neymar in the 10, Richarlison up front. You know, they almost had a front four, didn't they, Brazil? It was insane. And what Paqueta can do is he can go box to box, deep, and then he joins the attack. His goal, you know, he started that move. Great pass, and he late run into the box. Absolutely wonderful cross. I think it was from Vinicius. And then he finished it off. Lovely first time volley with his weaker foot as well. So really good finish. The only criticism I would give him is that the goal that he probably should have scored, it was an easier chance, and he tried to flick it with the outside of his left boot. But I think that was in full showboating mode by that point. God, he was probably just trying to flick it in off the bar or something like that. I don't know. They're a fun team, aren't they? They are. That was something I did enjoy. There's been a lot of criticism of Brazil and their antics. Excuse me. And their antics, dancing around after they've scored and stuff like that. Doesn't bother me. Doesn't bother me at all. I just think that they're a fun team. They play with a smile on their face. Look at bloody Antonio. You know, we used to love it when Antonio used to do his silly dances after a goal. Back when he used to enjoy playing football. It's a shame, isn't it? It's a shame. So yeah, I've got no problem with it. And like I say, the guy just looks like he's having a fantastic time at the World Cup at the moment, and so he should be. I bet he can't wait to get back to Rush Green and be inspired by David Moyes. But yeah, so I just hope that if David Moyes does happen to be here against Arsenal, the odds are if we can't get someone in by that point, he will still be here. I stand by the fact I believe they're trying everything to get someone else in, but they may not succeed. They may not, because you know what they're like. They aim high, so we don't know what sort of names they're going for, and they'll probably whittle their way down until they end up with Sean Dyche when we're 9 points worse off. But we shall see. And I don't believe that, by the way. I think there's hope that we could get a top manager in, because I think we're an exciting project. So I'm still hopeful that we will have someone else in place before Boxing Day. But there are no guarantees. But I do think they're trying. That's my belief, because they'd be fucking idiots if they weren't. So if he is in place, I hope he saw that, and I hope at the very least what he does is he puts Paqueta in the middle of our team, builds a team around him. You know, can you imagine having him and Rice? Rice can do the Casemiro role. Of course he can. So we've got 2 world-class central midfielders there. You know, and we've got Fornals who we know can operate in that area as well. That should be the midfield 3. And then worst way, if you need to firm it up a little bit, you put Downs in, because Downs can do the defensive work as well as everything else. He ain't an attacking player, so why he's being used as a number 10 recently, I don't know. This is a thing that just mesmerises me with David Moyes. You know, if you look at, I suppose you could criticise him with what he's done with Declan Rice, because if you look at the way that England are using Dec, they're using Dec as a central defensive midfield shield. That's how they use him. We don't use him like that. If you look at the way that Brazil are using Paqueta, they're using him as a deep line box-to-box playmaker. We don't use him like that. If you look at Downs, who he's brought in, who was a recognised central defensive midfielder, in a few occasions where he has gone and he's played in the Premier League, Moyes has either played him out almost on the right wing, or he's played him as a 10. He's played him as a 10. This is all so that he can shoehorn Souček into a fucking team. It will always come back to that man. And if he carries on with that experiment, if Souček's back in that team come Boxing Day, I just want to see him try something different if he's still in play. Because look, at the end of the day, the most important thing is that West Ham survive, West Ham get points, and West Ham stay up. So if David Moyes is still in charge, I want us to win, and I want us to play good football. He's not my choice. I don't want him here anymore. But if he's going to be here, I at least want him to wake up and start doing something a little bit more progressive. So we shall see what happens. My worry is that he's just going to revert to type. But you know, we'll see. We'll see. Did you all see the stories about the Marouane Fellaini link? Did you? See, the thing is with that, right? The thing is with that, I initially, when I read that, I thought, that's just a piss take. You know, because what is he, 35? I think he's far off being 36. He's playing in China. You know, he's almost in retirement. So you look at that and you think, oh, shut up. That's just people stirring the pot. But then you kind of think about it and you think to yourself, no, do you know what? I could actually believe it. I could believe it. You know, David Moyes, now he's in a situation where his back's to the wall. It might be where he's most comfortable. He might feel like he could be justified in doing something like that. But I think it's nonsense. I will go nuts if Fellaini comes in, put it that way. I don't think it's true. I think it's a nothing story. And I do believe it's more or less been confirmed as a nothing story, even though X did allude to the fact that it didn't dismiss it completely. Apparently the club haven't dismissed it completely. They haven't said they've made a bid for him, but sources close to the club have said that they would only entertain a short-term deal. So it's not been thrown out altogether. So, yeah, we'll have to monitor that one. I'll be honest with you, I think I'd laugh. I think if he came in, I'd laugh. I would. Next, on to Aguirre. Bit of a heartbreaking one, this. He's been fantastic in this tournament, and what I will say is we haven't seen much of him at all. I didn't really know anything about him before he joined. All we know is that even before he got his injury, David Moyes was harping on about the fact, you know, he'll need to adapt, he'll need to do this, he'll need to do that. Well, he's playing at the highest level. Morocco had a tough group, you know. Would they have Belgium, Canada? It was a really, really tough group, and they topped it. And he's been one of their standout players. Defensively, they're superb. They've conceded, what, 1 goal? Morocco? And that was against Canada, wasn't it? Was that an own goal? I can't remember now. But they're defensively so solid. And Aguirre has been one of the best players in that backline. He's been absolutely superb. His passing, his distribution is amazing. His decision-making is brilliant. He's a threat from set pieces at the other end as well. Should have scored in the last game. But yeah, sod's law that he did look like he was struggling. I'd say about 10 minutes before he got injured. So I was a little bit concerned that they didn't hook him before the end of that game, because he was definitely struggling. But they made loads of other subs and they left him on, and then he broke down. Looks awful because he went down in tears. He was holding his hip sort of and pointing to his groin. So it could either be a hip abductor or it could be a groin strain. Nothing's been confirmed as yet. If it's severe, then whichever it is, he's going to be out for a considerable amount of time, 2 to 3 months if it's severe. If it's not, if it's just a pull, then I suppose best way you're looking at something like a month. But even that's going to see him miss these 3 critical games that David Moyes has apparently got to save his job. The only comfort that I take from that was the post-match celebrations. There was a video circulated by Morocco after the game, and Aguerd was dancing. He was jigging around. You know, if it was severe, he would not have been doing that. You know, he was shuffling in the changing room. So I don't think it's going to be severe, but nonetheless, I don't expect him to feature anymore in this World Cup, which is awful for him, and more so horrific for West Ham because we need him. With Zuma having had his operation, and we don't know when he's going to be back. But yeah, so we'll move on to this because this is going to build into something else. We're going to talk about the players that we've signed in a bit. So Kurt Zuma, as we know, has been carrying an injury I just think he's been carrying an injury since we signed him. You know, he looks laboured when he runs. He struggles. Excuse me. And he's definitely not been right this year, even though he has put in some great performances in certain games against a better opposition as well. But he had an operation. No one knows quite what it is. But it can't have been severe. Not severe. It can't have been that invasive a surgery because he was photographed going back to training. Now he's not been doing intense training with the rest of the team just yet. I think he's been taking part in a few little exercises, but on the whole, he's back at Rush Green and he's in recovery. So he's there. He's with the other team. So and he big smile on his face, thumbs up when he got out of the car. So that sort of leads me to believe that maybe it isn't going to be as bad as we all anticipated with Kurt Zuma. But nonetheless, we can't expect him to be ready for Arsenal. Not after having, even if it was just, you know, minor keyhole surgery to drain fluid or whatever. I don't know. It's still going to be a substantial recovery time, and then he's going to have to regain his fitness after having so long out. So he's not going to be ready for Arsenal. And then to top it all off, we had the testimonial game away at Cambridge last night, and Aaron Cresswell limps off. We don't know how severe that is. Reports are that he felt a tweak in his hamstring. So as a precaution, he just signalled and that was it. He came straight off. We don't know if there's anything in it. Nothing's been confirmed either way. We've got no idea what's happening with that. So again, that is another key player in David Moyes' system. I know there's a lot of people that be going, oh, well, it don't. In a sense, it shouldn't matter because David Moyes went out and spent 18 million on his replacement in the summer. So it could be a good thing. Not that he's injured, because he ain't severely injured, but this might give Emerson the chance that he needs to actually sort of come and get bedded into the team at left back and show us what he can do. We all need to see it. So, and as good as Cresswell has been from an offensive perspective in terms of his passing, his progressive passing and stuff like that, a lot of goals that we concede, they come down that side. He's a defensive weakness, unfortunately. And I love Cresswell, but his legs aren't what they once were. So I think that this one could be a blessing in disguise. I think that this shoehorns Emerson into the position that he should have already been playing him. So I don't think that's a bad thing. We've still got Dawson until January. Well, we've got him until the end of the year, but I think they had a gentleman's agreement to say that they would let him go in January because, as we all know, he's got family issues, and he's living at home at the moment, and he's commuting in every day to training, which is not ideal. It's not right. It's not going to help him be the best that he can be if he's having to do that. With that level of commitment to training, to and from training every day. So it doesn't work for anyone. And we've got Ogbonna, who must be getting his fitness back now. He's had no setbacks since his recovery, and he's got to be regaining some of his fitness. The few times that I've seen him, I think he's looked good. He is going to lack pace, I think, after having an injury like that. He weren't the quickest anyway, to be fair. I still think he's a sublime defender. So to have him as a defender in our current situation to help us out, I don't think that's a bad thing at all. And we've still got Kehrer as well. Kehrer, who I think is more suited as at centre-back. He's definitely not a right-back. He's not a right-back. We've seen that. He's god-awful at right-back. Maybe if you played him as a wing-back, like if we played a back three and you played him as a right wing-back, you could get away with that because he ends up defensively shocking when you play him at right back. I don't think he's defensively shocking at centre back. I think he's a good player. But these players that we've signed, like Paqueta, they're used to playing in possession-based teams. They're used to playing... It's like Kera's probably used to playing in a backline that sits further up, away from goal. We're kind of backs against the wall. That's the way that West Ham defend, the way we have defended this year. He's probably never had to defend like that, to be quite honest, not in his professional career, because when he played for Schalke, I think it was, they were quite a progressive team. And he's got pace, so you've got that recovery pace. So if once it comes to the point where you've got Aguero and Kera, you can afford to play a high line because you haven't got to be terrified about people running in behind because you have players with that recovery pace. So you can compress that field of play, you can push up, and that should help us be a bit more of an attacking team. But so there are options there, and obviously we've still got at right back, we've still got Johnson, we've still got Soufal. Neither of those two are great options, but they can perform perfectly well as defensive right backs. They can. And from an attacking perspective, while we've still got him, I don't know why we just don't use Ashby. I mean, that's the reason he's going anyway. I know there's a lot of stories circulating about Ashby, about his attitude and stuff like that. But look, I don't blame kids for wanting to go elsewhere away from this setup at West Ham, because we had the same with Perkins. They get called greedy. I think the greed is playing time greedy. They want a path into that first team. I don't think they can see a path with David Moyes standing in their way. That's it. He's proved it. He had so many opportunities at the tail end of last season where we had players on their arses. We had no centre backs at one point, and he was playing fullbacks at centre back, and he was playing knackered. He was playing knackered first team players over the second string. There is no path into that team. You know, it's hard enough for one of the B plus players, if you like, the B team plus players, to actually sort of get regular game time without these lads. So I don't blame the likes of Ashby and Perkins. I don't, not at all. And I do want to see that change. I want to see that change, and that's another thing that I think we can benefit from with our next managerial appointment. If we can go with a manager that has a focus on the youth academy, because you've only got to have a look at the next crop of players that we've got coming through. If you do follow our youth teams, have a look at our even if you don't, have a look at our under-18s team. They are smashing it. They're unbeaten. They've won every game, I think. You know, they've won every game this year, and they're battering teams. They are absolutely tremendous. So the next crop of players that we've got coming through is really, really exciting. So yeah, the whinge from this from me is going to go back to, unfortunately, David Moyes, because you can say we're unlucky. You can say we're unlucky. Aguer's got injured. We won't touch on Cresswell because I don't think Cresswell's injury prone. Zuma's injured. These are injury prone players. They are. Aguer has injured the same ankle that he injured when he first came to us twice before. He's done the same injury twice before. Zuma had knackered knees when he came to us. It was, yeah, it had a period before he joined us where he was okay. But playing at Chelsea, he's never going to have been in a situation where he's been playing every game because he's got a big squad. You come to West Ham and you're the main centre-back, you're playing every game, every minute. And you've got a massive guy like that with dodgy knees. What was going to happen? It was obviously, and he struggled. He struggled for that reason. So I don't think you've got to look at these signings and just go. And he does these due diligence checks, doesn't he? You know, he's famed for it. You know, he kind of coos about it. Well, it doesn't obviously extend to injury proneness, does it? I don't know what it extends to, but the important bit, are they going to be fit to play? He's obviously not too concerned about that. Look at Cornet. Another one, he's injury prone, doesn't suffer from severe injuries, but just masses and masses and masses of little niggly injuries that keep him out for games. You know, it was the same at Burnley. It was the same when he was at Lyon as well. In fact, there's a comment floating around from Sean Dyche from when Burnley signed Cornet, alluding to just that. Basically saying the guy is fragile. We've got to try and find the best way of getting minutes out of him without him breaking down. So we've paid 17 million for a fucking sick note. That's what we've done. And he weren't even fit for the Cambridge game. You know, he should have been back and recovered by now, but he weren't even fit for that. So he'll come back. He'll play well, he'll score a goal, he'll look good, then he'll be gone for 2-3 games. So again, that's another one. So you're looking at 30 million on Zuma, same on Aguer, and 17 million on on Cornet, you know. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. That's 80 million on injuries waiting to happen. And that's without Kehrer as well, who has not suffered any injuries as yet. But he is another one. If you have a look at his injury history, it's not good. It's not good at all. Various different injuries that he suffered from as well. So again, if we clearly don't look at that, we're clearly not too concerned with a player's injury history. I wouldn't mind taking a gamble on the odd player, but you can't have your whole fucking backline full of players with a history of getting injured because, yeah, then you do need more than 4. You need, God knows how many you need, because you're going to end up in this situation. So even that's just, it's not another stick to beat Moyes with. It's just, I thought it at the time, when it was Milenkovic or Zuma, most people thought that Zuma had injury issues. They knew he'd had problems in the past. Milenkovic was a Fiorentina captain. He was young, complete opposite. Didn't suffer from bloody injuries, and that deal was on the table. But David Moyes' preference was Kurt Zouma, and that dragged on for the entire window. And in the end, they must have batted heads, him and Sullivan, and David Moyes has got his man over the line after about 4 fitness tests, which he had to do before he signed for us, because Sullivan, rightly so, wasn't sure on the player. So. Look, but that said, you know, I like Zuma. He's a good player. He's been good for us, but this is a problem. You can't go signing injury-prone players. You know, not widespread. You know, you can take a gamble on a couple, but fucking hell, it is frustrating. But look, like I say, when they're fit, they're good. So let me know what you think. Anyway, that's enough from me today. Let me know what you think. The odds are that we're going to be without Aguirre, certainly Zuma. And possibly Cresswell come the Arsenal game. How do you think that's going to affect us? Who knows? Who knows? I don't think it really would have made much difference anyway, because I'm not expecting to win that game. It's probably the more important one is Brentford, but we shall see. We shall see. Anyway, look, that's me done for today. Sorry, I'm not as perky as I was on Monday. I'm feeling a bit shit. All right then. Okay. All right. I'll speak to you soon. Come on, you irons.